ones. And we don't have any text. So who am I going to believe? See, this argument now, even against anybody, and I don't care how great a scholar you are, this argument is futile, not unless you can tell me or find ancient Pharaonic, ancient African records where they see in their narratives, which is called mythology, that we came from apes. Until I get it, I'm not going for the bull. But then again, on the other hand, we have to also look and say, at this particular time, we got to even look and find out when we define things, is it the white man's definition that we are defining things by as the yardstick where we measure? Or is it our definition? You say, well, how do we know what our definitions are? Because we left enough records behind. Yeah, there's been thousands of records that's been destroyed, but we got enough access to the records behind. If we would just study the ancient mythology to get closer to the truth. And all of that ancient mythology says that we have been on the earth for millions of years. And so this argument, I'm just as much as legitimate for looking in Egyptian texts and finding us being here for a considerable amount of years and not finding us coming from apes as some fool agreeing to something that some white university standard says is the law of the land.
Bobby, this is very interesting insight. Now, who is if the black man has been here for millions,
right,
and the European, where did he come from, and when did he get here? What's his history? And we've been here for millions of years and then mutate into a Caucasian, and the Caucasian shows up 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, let's say 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, 10,000 or 11,000 years ago. How did he arrive? What is he?
Well, based on the text, this mutation or this particular climate adaptability that so many black scholars go by is only a theory. We don't have any records on that, but we do have records. One very important one, and it is not anything that's Christian in origin. There's a text called the Apocryphon of John, coming out of the book called the Nag Hammadi or Nag Hammadi Library. Dug up in 1945 in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. And these ancient texts that somehow didn't get translated into English until 1977. But in these texts, especially that Apocryphon of John, they clearly state that you have the original person, what they call the true beings, and then you have what is called a counterfeit spirit or a later spirit or a later being that is separated from the original being by a single essence, which means in actuality you can have a physical body, but that essence that they're separated is the melanin. So now all of a sudden, I don't want to hear a theory when we have texts like this showing up. You see, in text at the Ramesses V tomb of Temple of Abydos in the Holy Land, where they say that the Egyptians and the West Africans created the white man.
No, wait a minute. You said there's a text at Abydos to say?
Yeah. Temple of Ramesses V, Biblim El Manuk. To quote it, you can find it documented in Gerald Massey's Book of the Beginnings, Volume 1, page 27. And you can also get a fuller story of it in Sheikh Anta Diop's book, Ancient African Civilization, Myth or Reality, which the African Origins of Civilization, Myth or Reality, where he talks about the Tamahu, which means the Tamahu. But he omits that part when Gerald Massey's Book of the Beginnings, Volume 1, page 27, said that the word Tamahu means, Tama meaning a created, and a Hu meaning white, light, and bright. Thus, Tamahu means the created white people. And it goes on at the end of the text, coming from Biblium El Manuk, or on the walls of the tombs of Ramesses V, where they say the Ruti, which is supposed to be your East African, and your Suti, which is supposed to be your West African, created the Tamahu.
Now, if you want me, I'll go get you Book of the Beginnings, Your Master, Volume 1, and you can point it out.
Yeah.
I can also get you Shake's book.
Just get that one, the Volume 1.
Okay, I think it's in there.
Yes.
All right, let's hold that up there. Hold the Book of Beginnings round so I can see what we're dealing with. And that's by Gerald Massey?
Yep.
Yes. Now, okay, turn to that. That's Volume 1?
Volume 1, page 27, Exhibit 8.
All right.
We'll identify where it's coming from and what it is talking about. The Egyptians identified themselves on the monuments as the R-U-T, root. A pictorial representation found in the tomb of Seti I. There are 4 races of people arranged in groups of 4 men each. These are the Neshi, or the Nashi, which means Negroes. Hemmu, which means light brown hue, with blue eyes and their hair in a bag. So that would be more of a mixture of a mulatto. The Tamahu, who are fair as Europeans, and the Rut, who are Egyptians. These typical groups, not meant merely for conquered races, as may be gathered from signification of their names. The Tamahu are light-complected people. The Egyptian word Tama means people and created. Hu means white, light, and ivory. Tamahu are the created white people. You got it in black and white right there. The Ne is black. The Na means black ink. Ne means blackbird. Shu means person of birth. Nashu, which means black born, or in Egyptian phrase, the black born from the egg, Shu. Him means rudder to paddle. Fish means hemi, paddle, fish. Hemi, to steer. The Hemu is indicated as sailors or seafarers of the people of the Isles. That might be a form of your Phoenicians later on. The Isles of the Gentiles, it might be rendered in Egyptians by the Isles of the Anu, or Amu, or Hemu. Now, to cut to the chase, the Egyptians were the true root ones of primordial people who first took conscious hold of the earth, retained a knowledge of the fact, and retained the knowledge of the fact that they were the first people to be on the damn earth. The land is the footstool. The land of Egypt, is the footstool root, or root. The people were the feet, root, on which the human being first arose erect to attain full stature. Identically, however, when we learn that the Egyptians recognized the black race to be the first created men, the people of Ra were born from the Great One who is in the heavens. The root are born of his eye, and in the persons of superior men. Now this is the key. He also created the Amu and the Tamu as he has confronted himself with the multitudes who came from him in the shape of Negroes, by which expressly and said, Horus is created him, and he defends their souls. So in so many words, they go in and they say that the Egyptians, in so many words in this passage, created, or the first black man created the Amu, which is another fair-skinned race, and the Tamahu, which is the created white men. This is all coming from the temple of Seti I at Abydos, the first Holy Land. So now we have a page of history that don't suggest no ape man. This is what the Egyptians are saying, and they say they call them the created white people. You see? Diop in his book, it's not Pre-Colonial Black Africa, it's the other one, Egyptian Origins of, African Origins of Civilization, Myth and Reality. In that book, he goes all into the Tamahu, but he omits this page where it says they are the created white people. You see what I'm saying? So we have counter history that suggests other than this ape thing. We can prove this over and over through mythology.